Why your hydrangeas keep failing. 7 planting mistakes that kill beautiful blooms and the solutions. Hydrangeas can be some of the most eye-catching shrubs in your garden, lush leaves and big, beautiful blooms that seem almost too good to be true. Yet so many gardeners find themselves puzzled when their plants produce lots of foliage but few or no flowers. Why does it happen, and what common mistakes might be secretly sabotaging your hydrangeas every season? In this video, we're uncovering 7 planting mistakes that kill hydrangeas, and just as importantly, how to fix them so you can enjoy hydrangeas that thrive from spring through fall with vibrant, healthy blossoms. One, wrong light and placement, sun and shade problems. Hydrangeas are beautiful flowering shrubs, but they're also very particular about where they're planted. One of the biggest reasons your hydrangeas struggle or fail to bloom is incorrect light exposure. Most hydrangea varieties, like big leaf and mountain types, need morning sun and partial shade in the afternoon. Too much hot sunlight will scorch leaves and fade flowers, while too much shade means weak stems and few blooms. Full shade will often result in lush foliage but little to no flowers, because hydrangeas rely on a balanced amount of light to produce energy and set flower buds. The placement of your hydrangea matters almost as much as sunlight. Planting under large trees might seem smart for shade, but tree roots compete aggressively for water and nutrients, leaving your hydrangeas thirsty and starved. You also want to avoid extremely windy or exposed spots, as winds can dry out the plant faster than you expect and damage delicate blooms. A spot with morning sun and dappled afternoon light typically gives hydrangeas the best chance to thrive and bloom repeatedly. So if you've noticed drooping stems, faded leaves, or no flowers at all, evaluate where you planted them first. Try transplanting to a new spot with the right light. Take note of how sunlight moves through your garden throughout the day and watch how the plant responds over the first few weeks. Proper placement isn't just about sun or shade. It's about giving hydrangeas the light rhythm they're genetically adapted for so blooms can develop fully. Two, watering problems, too much or too little. Hydrangeas have shallow root systems, so they need reliable, consistent moisture to perform well. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make is watering irregularly, either letting the soil dry out too much or keeping it soggy for too long. When hydrangeas are underwatered, their leaves wilt, bloom heads shrivel, and the plant enters stress mode instead of blooming mode. Conversely, overwatering can lead to poor oxygen at the root zone and root rot, which weakens the plant and can even kill it. The secret is to keep the soil evenly moist but well drained, meaning the soil should hold water without turning into a swamp. Hydrangeas typically do well with around 1 inch of water per week from rain or irrigation, depending on your climate and sun exposure, and a layer of organic mulch helps retain soil moisture for longer. Water deeply at the base of the plant rather than misting the leaves to reduce disease risk and help water reach the roots where it's needed most. If your hydrangea wilts daily in hot weather, it's a clear signal you need to adjust your watering routine. Whether that means watering more often in intense sun or improving soil drainage if water pools around the roots. Regularly check the soil. If the top inch is dry, it's time to water. If it's constantly soggy, improve drainage, possibly with raised beds, or amend soil with organic matter before planting. Hydrangeas are thirsty but not drowning plants, so balanced moisture is key for lush leaves and big blooms. 3. Wrong soil and fertilizing habits. Soil is another cornerstone of hydrangea success, and getting it wrong can kill blooms before they even form. Hydrangeas thrive in moist, nutrient-rich, well-draining soil, too dense and compact, and water won't drain. Too sandy and moisture slips away too quickly. While some hydrangea types tolerate a wide range of soils, most will perform best if you improve your soil first by mixing in organic compost or well-rotted manure, which helps water retention and feeds roots slowly throughout the season. Fertilizing is essential, but timing and tight matter. Too much high nitrogen fertilizer pushes leafy growth at the expense of flowers, which is the opposite of what you want. Using a balanced, slow-release fertilizer in spring or adding compost around the root zone can help promote healthy growth in buds, but avoid fertilizing late in summer. This encourages tender new growth that can be damaged by winter cold. One more smart trick. Some hydrangeas change color based on soil pH. Blue flowers appear in slightly acidic soil, and pink tones in more alkaline soil, but don't over-chemically manipulate pH without a soil test. Instead, focus first on healthy soil structure and nutrient balance. Test your soil before adding amendments so you're correcting real deficiencies and not causing imbalances that can further stress your plant. Good soil and smart feeding set the stage for the big, beautiful blooms hydrangeas are known for. Four. Improper pruning that kills buds. Many gardeners don't realize how important pruning timing and technique are for hydrangeas, and getting it wrong can completely stop blooms for a season. Hydrangeas bloom either on old wood, last year's growth, or new wood, this year's growth, depending on the variety, so cutting stems at the wrong time can remove the buds that would become flowers later. Big leaf and oak leaf hydrangeas, for example, typically bloom on old wood, meaning they set buds before winter and need to be pruned right after flowering rather than in spring. If you cut them back too hard in early spring, you're essentially trimming away the future blooms before they even have a chance to open. On the other hand, panicle and smooth hydrangeas bloom on new wood, meaning they form flower buds on the current season's growth and can be safely pruned in late winter or early spring to encourage vigorous new stems. Removal of only the dead or weak wood is usually enough for both types, and overly aggressive trimming can weaken the plant and lower its overall vigor. Pruning isn't just about reducing size, it's about understanding growth habits and encouraging healthy structure. When done properly, it opens up space in the canopy so sunlight and air can reach inner branches, further boosting bloom potential. If your hydrangeas keep putting out leafy growth but no flowers, evaluate your pruning schedule first. Learn which type you have, follow the correct timing, and always use clean, sharp tools so cuts heal quickly without inviting pests or disease. Knowing when to prune and when not to keeps those buds intact and leads to lush clusters of blooms year after year. Don't be afraid to leave a few spent stems alone if you're unsure. A little patience goes a long way in hydrangea care. Five. Over or under fertilizing hydrangeas. Hydrangeas need nutrients to bloom, but more isn't always better, and too much or too little fertilizer can both harm your plant. Excess fertilizer, especially high nitrogen blends, encourage leafy growth at the expense of flowers because nitrogen primarily fuels green vegetative growth rather than bloom production. Many gardeners with lush, dark green hydrangea leaves are surprised to discover that overfeeding can actually reduce the number of blooms they get later in the season. On the flip side, Under-fertilizing leaves your hydrangea undernourished and starved for the nutrients it needs to produce strong stems and full flower heads. The key is to use a balanced or bloom-boosting fertilizer in spring. Ideally, a slow-release formula or organic amendment like compost that feeds roots steadily as the season progresses. Fertilizing too late in summer can encourage tender new growth that won't harden off before cooler weather, making buds more vulnerable to winter damage and reducing blooms next year. Another mistake is applying fertilizer directly at the base without watering it in. Concentrated fertilizer granules touching roots can burn them and stress the plant. Instead, spread your chosen fertilizer evenly around the root zone and water deeply so nutrients dissolve and soak into the soil. Balanced feeding, not overfeeding, supports healthy growth and blossoms without stress, ensuring your hydrangeas have what they need when they need it most. Six, ignoring pests, disease, and environmental stressors. Even with perfect water, soil, and light, hydrangeas can struggle when attacked by pests or stressed by environmental extremes. Aphids, spider mites, and other pests often feed on tender new growth, reducing vigor and sometimes leading to wilted or stunted flower development. Fungal diseases like powdery mildew and leaf spots thrive in humid conditions when air circulation is poor, especially if plants are crowded or watered overhead. Addressing these issues early prevents them from sapping energy the plant needs to bloom. Environmental factors like late frosts, extreme heat, or sudden temperature swings can also damage tender buds before they even open, meaning you'll see healthy leaves but no flowers. Mulching with organic material helps moderate soil temperature and moisture levels, and positioning plants where they get morning sun and afternoon shade can reduce heat stress, another common reason hydrangeas fail to bloom well. Proper pruning to improve airflow and selective watering at the base of the plant rather than wetting foliage helps disrupt fungal disease cycles. Protecting hydrangeas from pests and environmental stressors isn't just about reacting when something goes wrong, it's about preventative care. Regularly inspect stems and leaves, remove any diseased or infested parts promptly, and adjust your watering or light exposure as seasons change. This attentive approach keeps your shrubs healthy and resilient, giving them the strength to produce vibrant, full blooms year after year. Seven, ignoring soil pH, nutrient uptake, and climate hardiness. Soil chemistry isn't the most glamorous aspect of gardening, but it's super important for hydrangea blooms, especially if you want vibrant blooms and healthy plants. Hydrangeas are sensitive to soil pH, and while some varieties can adjust, extreme acidity or alkalinity can interfere with how well the plant absorbs nutrients it needs to develop flowers. For example, a too alkaline soil can reduce the availability of essential minerals, which can weaken the plant and reduce bloom production over time. In contrast, soils in the right pH range help hydrangeas take up nutrients that support strong stems and abundant blooms. Another nuance many gardeners overlook is whether the hydrangea type you're growing is climate appropriate for your region. Some types are more cold tolerant than others, and if your winters are harsher than a plant can handle, buds forming in late fall may be damaged before spring arrives. Flower buds that don't survive the winter simply won't bloom, so understanding your plant's hardiness zone compatibility is key to setting it up for success. Finally, soil pH doesn't just influence nutrient uptake in some hydrangeas, like big leaf varieties, it also affects flower color. Acidic soil, lower pH, makes flowers more blue, while alkaline soil leans toward pink hues. But dramatic swings or unstable pH can stress the plant and distract it from blooming well. Testing your soil and amending it carefully, not wildly, helps you optimize both health and blooms without shocking your hydrangea. Conclusion: hydrangeas are exquisite plants, but getting them to bloom reliably requires knowing a few key things about their needs and natural tendencies. From light and water to pruning timing, correct fertilizing, pest management, and understanding the nuance of soil pH and climate hardiness. Each step you take makes a big difference in whether your hydrangeas wag their heads in glorious color or simply fail to bloom. At the heart of every successful garden is observation, patience, and responsiveness. Paying attention to what your plants are telling you and adjusting care accordingly. If your hydrangeas have disappointed you in the past, use the solutions we've shared here. Think of them as your roadmap to vibrant, healthy hydrangea blossoms every season. With a little care, you can turn those struggles into stunning flower power that becomes the highlight of your garden year after year.